Good morning, Dan Delmar in for Elias. He's back on Thursday. Let's take some time to revisit a topic from the Big Five, the future of the Quebec Liberal Party, as this is going to be another year, 2024, when this party will not have a leader, which is crazy. It's just so crazy. If it was a fourth or fifth place party, fine, whatever, no one cares. This is the opposition. The official opposition. It's bonkers. And in the meantime, we have an interim leader and a panel of liberal experts who are trying to plot the course to the future of the Liberal Party, and it seems like they're missing some points and messing some stuff up on the basics of liberalism. And so they're being critiqued for that, not only by me, but by others, including Vincent Geloso, who's an assistant professor of economics at George Mason University in Washington, D.C., a Quebecer, though, previously tied to, worked with the Montreal Economic Institute and the Fraser Institute and PhD in economics from, I want to say, Oxford. Vincent, is that correct?
London School of Economics.
London School of Economics. There you go. Thanks very much. And welcome back to Montreal.
It's a pleasure.
Why did you decide to do this hashtag, make the PLQ liberal again? What is it about their lack of liberalism that bugs you? I often define liberalism as free minds and free markets. I'm really good at the free minds part. We did that last half hour. You're really good at the free markets part. What is your criticism of the liberals?
So I would put a qualifier on free markets. I think the liberals, as the broader family, generally emphasizes that what matters is economic freedom that people must have, and that leaves a good place for the state to exist, to promote markets, but generally we want economic freedom so people have secure property rights, to have limited regulations, to face a government that is constrained to what it does best and that markets and civil society can't do. That leaves a very broad family. And the criticism that I keep making is that the Quebec Liberal Party is making clear that they're social democrats and not liberal, not even the more moderate kind of liberals. They're committed to very much policies that involve greater involvement in the economy by the state, no curtailing of state intervention. They generally only adhere to the political liberalism that you emphasize, or the free minds part, and they don't speak, again, to these other dimensions of what constitutes human freedom.
There are a lot of micro issues just in terms of the way they respond to things in the news, the liberals, that gives you a clue that they're not on the right side of these issues and that they're taking increasingly economic nationalist positions, which are not liberal. You raised the issue on Twitter recently of the Boulangerie Sainte Méthode. Now, this is a giant bread maker. Everyone sees them in our grocery stores. They've expanded a lot in recent years. They recently, in business, 75 years. They were started in 47, I think. They sold to a couple of partners, including an American VC firm, and the reaction from the liberals. And this is key. If a successful Quebec family business, they put in the effort for 3/4 of a century, they sell, they retire. What is the proper response to that? It should be congratulations, great job, everyone. But that wasn't the response from the liberals, was it, Vincent?
Yes. So the classical liberal position, if you want, and I mean classical in the sense of like generic liberal position, is firms are owned by their owners. They're not the property of a nation, of a polity. Maybe there's justification for like national defense purposes of like saying, okay, no, let's not sell like nuclear secret or stuff like that. But this is a bakery, so I don't think it falls into that category. Classical liberal will say something along the lines of, congratulations, you did a great business and somebody saw value in it and decided to acquire the asset and make it more valuable or involve in it or make it bigger. And that's something we should encourage, and we should even have policies that actually enable people to engage in entrepreneurship, to build up firms like this so that either they become more competitive abroad and they start acquiring firm abroad, or foreigners are like, we really want these firms. They're really, really good stuff. They do really, really good products. The Liberal Party's response is the more nationalistic one of, well, this is owned by us as a nation, and we have, it's a bad thing if foreigners buy it. That's a really bad reflex. In fact, a generally liberal position is that economic nationalism. If you want, I'll be even coarser than that. Economic jingoism is a very, very bad thing that is an element of the road to something you don't want to go down to. And the Liberal Party of Quebec decided for some reason to keep going on that route. And it's a very sad thing to see because the Liberal Party has a history of being actually liberal. They were very much a liberal party until the 1930s. They veered a bit to the left in the 60s and 70s. But then they kept winning elections in 1985, 1989, and 2003 and 2007 by actually engaging in positions that were classically liberal. They just, when they governed after that, they didn't do it the way they said, but they won an election. I mean, people forget that Robert Bourassa went back to power in 85, proposing to have a ministry of privatization to return certain crown corporations to the market. So the Liberal Party really is right now not even pretending to be liberal. It has decided to be full out social democratic, and there's nothing inherently wrong with social democrats. It's just not liberalism, and they should just engage with it and say it as it is.
Yeah, or change their name.
Change their name.
Yeah, in this case, Marc Tanguay, I'll read the tweet about the reaction to the sale of the Sainte Méthode Boulangerie. The Sainte Méthode Bakery, the pride of Quebec since 1947, dramatic emphasis here, falls under the control of American capital. Ooh, let's hope this acquisition will not compromise jobs here and the identity of the second largest bread producer in Quebec. Now, in the announcement, we already know that they're investing money. They're investing $14 million. So of course, they're investing more, and on top of it, Vincent, a minority partner stake for the Conseil. What is it? Caisse de dépôt. Thank you. So making it not only not an entirely private sale, but it's actually going to be a semi-public entity. Not good enough for the Liberals.
No. In fact, we should actually be happy. The fact that the Caisse de dépôt has invested in this is suggesting that they're making market investments into something that is essentially propping up savings for Quebecers. I mean, let's remember something very basic. Businesses are, first of all, not owned by polities. They're not the property of Quebec. They're the property of the people who invest in them. And the person who puts up capital, puts up investments, takes risks, is creating jobs, creating value, reducing prices, and attracting consumers to. And that's the value that's created by entrepreneurship. It's not and there's no droit de regard, if you want, on a business by a provincial government or a national government in that matter. And the profits that come from this are the entrepreneur's profit. And we should rejoice in the fact that despite a lot of what I would think is bad policies in Quebec towards entrepreneurship, there's still people who are able to make it and start businesses that people abroad value and see that they want to buy. And if we keep having policies that actually, if we invert, and we have policies, in fact, that promote economic growth and economic development, we'll have more of these businesses. In fact, we might have situations where Quebecers are so rich that they can start buying foreign firms and competing on foreign markets. And you would see the reverse story where it's Quebec firms that are buying, I don't know, firms from Alberta, firms from the United States or from France or from the UK. We should want that. And right now, it doesn't seem like it's in the Liberal Party's policy set of options, and it's not either in the CAQ or the PQ.
Vincent, can you hang out for a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Great. I want to get your thoughts on the leadership or lack thereof for the Liberal Party, which is now going to be for another year plus, and what kind of impact that makes on our politics. Happy New Year. Delmar in for Elias until Thursday. Make the PLQ great again is the hashtag that my guest has come up with, Vincent Geloso. He's a former Montrealer, expat Quebecer, I suppose, went down to Texas for a while to teach there. He's now in Washington, D.C. at George Mason University, where he teaches economics. And Vincent and I had several debates on my old evening show here. He was playing the role more of the center-right economist and me the center-left bleeding heart liberal, I suppose. But Vincent, our politics, respectively, haven't changed that much over the years, and yet here we are more united and more in agreement about the future of the Liberal Party of Quebec than the party itself is. I can't help but point out how lost this party must be if they're uniting people on the left and right with accusations that they don't know what liberalism is.
So first of all, I just want to correct you in a very small way.
Sure.
The hashtag is not make the PLQ great again; it's make the PLQ liberal again.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah.
We wanted to do initially as a joke, liberalize the liberals.
Yeah.
But we went with make the PLQ liberal again.
Sorry about that. Yeah, make the PLQ liberal again. Yeah.
Yes, please. That's the pun is important here. But the sad story is that the Liberal Party of Quebec used to have kind of a coalition of people who would go from center left, were social democrats who wanted to preserve markets and generate economic growth and then do redistribution. And then you would have more classically liberal people, and you would have a very small number of libertarians. Right now, the party has moved to the left of even the most left-wing group that was there before. They are talking about stuff that is very much anathema to even the most moderate of liberals, of national industrial policies, of intervening further in markets, of having say into foreign purchases, of having greater involvement in the economy. In fact, you and I could take this as an example because I know you emphasize much more the policy, the free minds issues, so the free conversation. When there was that mini scandal that should never have been a scandal of the pro-life group in Quebec wanting to reserve the Palais des Congrès in Quebec City to do a convention for anti-abortion groups. And the government said, no, you can't use our property for this. And the Liberal Party of Quebec clapped their hands at the government preventing people to access property to hold a speech that they just disagreed with, which is very much anathema to a liberal discourse. They have not opposed a series of very illiberal policies by the CAC, notably trespassing on private property, giving more rights for municipal governments to expel people without just compensation for their property when the cities have projects. They very much caved onto core liberal principles, and they've decided that basically what they were going to do is this joke that I often made, but make it real, which is that the very famous Austrian economist, and Austrian in the sense that he was from Austria, not from a particular school of thought, Joseph Schumpeter, when he was at Harvard, he said, as a supreme, if unintended compliment, the enemies of liberalism have taught it wise to appropriate its label. Right now, this is what I see when I see the Liberal Party of Quebec.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, why not just change your name? But it's kind of frustrating that we have to almost educate the liberals about what liberalism is. And right now they're scratching their heads and they're like, comment est-ce qu'on va gagner les régions? It's such a mystery. How are we going to convince regional Quebecers to vote for I don't know, maybe talk about free speech a little bit more, maybe talk about freedom and the fact that the size of the state is really something that's actually not supported very much in regional Quebec as it is in the cities. I mean, isn't a return to classical liberalism kind of part of the ticket for a comeback in the regions? I
think one of the sources of a comeback is to reemphasize that entrepreneurship is something that cannot be planned, cannot be promoted by subsidies or by a heavy touch. Entrepreneurship and innovation is something that is by definition unplannable. It's because people are alert to opportunities and they seize it. You must leave them an open field to seize opportunities, and that requires curtailing back the size of government, but also allowing governments to do what they can do best. That means decentralizing. So if you want to win regions, maybe find a way to decentralize power towards the region, to have a smaller provincial government that takes up fewer fields and leaves more room for municipalities to do more stuff, and also stop subsidizing the municipalities to do certain policies so that municipalities would compete with each other. That would be something that would be much more conducive to winning elections for the Liberals on the Liberal standpoint, because if they don't want to compete on that standpoint, it's not as if the left field in Quebec it's not as if the left field in Quebec had a vacuum. Let's say it like that.
And lastly, in terms of just where the party's going and who will take over as leader, our highlight of the show will be David Hertel, former minister under the Couillard government, which was, I think, economically, Vincent, the most successful Quebec government in recent history. And his point was that this party cannot go on without a leader. And I'm wondering what you think of the ADC discourse, the Antoine Ziron-Charest discourse, because that to me is another sign of a slip in liberalism, because liberals are supposed to believe in meritocracy and fairness.
I'm not sure I would go on the grounds of personalities. I would put more emphasis on the fact that I still haven't heard a liberal thing from the Liberal Party. The vast majority of the speeches are from discourses of re-emphasizing federalism, which is, I understand if you're the Quebec Liberal Party and your eternal enemy is the PQ, you can't exactly say the opposite of that, and it would be surprising if they did. But that's not the essence of a party, especially a party that claims to be liberal. There is no indication in any of the discourse that they think the size of the government right now in Quebec, which is at historic highs, so we should point out that it is still, despite the fact that the pandemic is over, the hangover in terms of public spending is still there. We're still way above the historical standards. The size of the government is essentially very large. Regulations are still going up. We now have a series of indicators of regulation through the Quebec Gazette, which is a regulatory document that we can use. But also there is stuff in the United States that people have done, which is reg data, which essentially uses word counts and word density to say, well, how restrictive is regulation in Quebec? And it seems to be going up, and it's not any signs of going down. And there's no indication of the Liberal Party in Quebec saying anything against that. In fact, they seem to be arguing systematically for more government intervention in the economy. So what I'm seeing right now is the Liberal Party is essentially wants to be a pro-market, maybe to some degree, just a little, social democratic party. And that in no way distinguishes them from the PQ, which is not an anti-market party. It is a nationalistic, center-left party, which is not bad per se, but it's not liberalism. The Liberal Party just wants to insist on being PQ without separatism, which is, okay, sure, but it's not liberalism. Whatever you want to do is about that.
Yeah, PQ without sovereignty. That's a great way of putting where the Liberals seem to be going. Vincent Geloso, Assistant Professor of Economics at George Mason University in D.C., former Montrealer. Thanks, Vincent.
Pleasure every year.
Take care. Happy New Year.